He's literally been
Shortly after the Battle of Gettysburg ended in July 1863, plans were made to create a proper burial ground for the soldiers who'd been buried in shallow graves throughout the battlefield. As I mentioned earlier this evening, local attorney David Wills, a Gettysburg graduate of the class of 1851, at the request of the governor, purchased 17 acres to create the cemetery, and those 17 acres surround us here tonight. One of the nation's most well-known orators, Edward Everett, was the featured speaker at the formal cemetery dedication on November 19, 1863. Everett spoke for 2 hours. The next speaker, President Abraham Lincoln, followed with his Gettysburg Address. His remarks took 2 minutes. The Gettysburg Address is perhaps the greatest speech ever given. The 10 sentences composing the speech received little public attention at the time. Edward Everett himself, however, appreciated Lincoln's eloquence, writing him, "I should be glad if I could flatter myself that I came as near to the central idea of the occasion in 2 hours as you did in 2 minutes." Of course, over time, appreciation for the spirit and depth of Lincoln's short address has grown, and the words continue to resonate today. To hear those words in this setting is a powerful experience. Tonight, I invite you to listen to the Gettysburg Address delivered by Scott Hartwig.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives, that this nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.